Life is too short for ordinary music. Jazz on WRFG Atlanta.
Kinds of things. Let's talk about this piece. That was a nice swing, man.
Yeah, that was, I mean, seriously, that was what played in my house from the time I was 2 years old. It's good to hear Dad again. He passed away about 14 years ago before my daughter was born, and it's nice to get a little airtime for Pops.
And let's talk about some of the experiences you had with the guys that were in this group coming through your home and everything.
Well, you know, so I grew up in Florida, but prior to that, we were up in Connecticut, and he would play in this several bands. One of them was called the Easy Riders Jazz Band. And what would happen is the soloists from New Orleans maybe couldn't bring their whole band up, but they would come up and play some festivals, you know, go into New York, or they'd play in New Haven or those areas. And so those guys would come up and they'd stay at our house. And so there would be rehearsals, you know, in the living room, and after gig play, you know, performances in the house when they came back and stuff. But it was a real tightly knit group of guys that just loved the music, and you could just tell. And it didn't matter where they were from. It didn't matter what color. It didn't matter. None of that stuff was. It was all checked at the door, and it was just really an inspirational. I mean, I remember it. You know, from 6 or 7 years old, for these guys just you know, being in the house and playing music.
Wow. And who wrote this?
The Bugle Boy March was. Let's see. That was a Frank Myers composition back in, I don't know, way back. But it was recorded in 1965 somewhere in Connecticut when. You know, these guys were all in town, yeah.
Wow, you've had some interesting experiences, you know, with different musicians and different types of jazz, you know. And that really makes you rounded. It really does, you know, that you can appreciate all different forms of it.
Yeah.
Know? You got something else for us?
Yeah, I do. There's a dear friend of mine. I don't know if Duffy's listening or not, but there's a dear friend of mine named Duffy Jackson. Got to meet Duffy about 2 years ago in Nashville. And Duffy played with Count Basie's band probably 3 times in his career, but probably the longest stint was in the late 70s and early 80s. And he's a phenomenal musician and a very sweet man living in Nashville now. And he gave me a recording that he made. The album is called Swing, Swing, Swing. And the recording is It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing, which you all know that song. And I was telling you, as we were listening here, it's probably the most swinginest version of this arrangement of this song that I've ever heard. So why don't I shut up and why don't we just listen to it?
Yeah, okay. This is 89.3 WRFG.
Life is too short for ordinary music. Jazz on WRFG Atlanta.